I know it's been almost 84 years since the last video of our hack and slash ARPG, but Devlog number 1 is finally out! If you've read the title of the video, you're probably wondering who the hell talks about advanced enemy AI in their first devlog. Well, it's my freaking devlog and I can do whatever I want. Since combat is what 90% of the game will be based on, it's important to have great enemies. But what makes a good enemy? One of the most important things is enemy AI. So I was looking at enemies in other games and I was like, hey, I really like the enemy behavior from Kingdom Hearts 3. Why don't we make something similar for our game? But instead of starting with something small, like having an enemy that follows you, I wanted to make an enemy that tries to hit you and then runs away to reposition, has group behavior and only attacks when others are not attacked, positions evenly around you based on the other enemies of the group. Yeah, that's how we ended up with this pile of garbage.
Okay, this is clearly not working. We need a completely different system. There are two main ways to create enemy AI without ending up with code that looks like this. We have behavior trees and state machines, so after careful consideration we ended up going with state machines because they are... Actually, I have no clue why we chose state machines. Anyway, we want to have things such as bosses, smart enemies and NPCs that follow you and are not annoying to deal with. I'm looking at you, Sheva. The good part is that there are people out there who are clearly smarter than me, like Jason. So after following this tutorial, you know, the way anyone would follow a tutorial, we now have this system that can be used to create complex AI for our enemies. We'll have common states used by all enemies like the attack state or the wonder state, and we can also implement custom states for certain enemies when they are needed. And would you look at that? It's finally working.
Let me tell you something! Let me tell you!
Almost working. Here's how the system works. By implementing the iState interface, we can define states that have three main methods. By overwriting the onEnter method, you can... Hey! Wake up, you idiot!
Yeah, I'm here. Anyway, the new state machine system is working great. The shield man gets stuck in wait state. No problem. We can just take a quick look at the transitions. Yeah, good luck trying to follow what's going on there when you have like 14 states and over 50 transitions. Okay, new plan. We gotta make a Unity editor to manage those states. I want something simple, like the editor for Unity's animator controller. We need to be able to create states and drag transitions between them. I've made some editors in the past, but I have no idea how to even begin making this thing. So let's do what I'm best at and borrow like 90% of the code from this asset called Dialog System for Unity. 1 week and 3,000 lines of code later, and it's finally done. Now this can be used to create all kinds of cool enemies. So I've added a spear enemy which chases you and can attack with a deadly spear dash. You know, a normal enemy that follows you and does one dash attack when close to you. Sounds easy, right? Well, here's what his state machine looks like. On top of this, balancing them is quite hard. We need to make sure this doesn't happen. Every game needs a ranged enemy as well, so here's the mage. He can shoot balls at you.
Yeah, boy.
And he runs away when you get too close to him. He's not very strong, but he's pretty dangerous when you're busy fighting other enemies. And there's the frog. We don't talk about the frog. We also made an enemy which can defend against your attacks with a shield. If you try to attack him with a normal attack while he's guarding, then this happens. He used to work correctly, but his AI broke when we made some changes to how the system works, and now he's kinda dumb. Yeah, we have to fix him someday. All in all, we have a pretty diverse array of enemies, and I think they work well together. We have tons of ideas for cool new enemies, like a giant deadly snail which can hide in its shell and spin around like crazy, but implementing them takes a lot of time. Tell us in the comments what you think about these enemies, and if you have any suggestions for new ones.
By this point, you might have noticed that the environment looks a tiny bit different from the last video. Let's just say that some people, including us, weren't happy with how the game looked, or as someone told me, you need better post-processing, bro. Okay, we'll add proper post-processing then, and by that I mean we basically replaced every texture from the game with brand new ones. If you want a quick step-by-step guide on how to create those textures, then here it is. Open Substance Designer, create a new texture, add some nodes, and there it is, the texture is done. What do you mean that's not how you make a texture? That's about everything I know. You gotta ask our 3D artist if you wanna know more about that. Now we can simply import them in Unity and commit those changes. What do you mean those files are too big? It worked perfectly fine before. Okay, time to talk about something that's been bothering us for quite a while, and that is version control in game development. If you don't use version control for your projects, then all I gotta say is what the hell is wrong with you? Do you even know how much time you're spending trying to undo shit that completely broke the game? Anyway, we've been using Git so far because it's free, but one big problem with Git is that it's not designed to handle large files. And as you know, textures in games can be quite large. I don't know about you, but my big projects always end up taking tens of gigabytes from all the asset packs that I use.
But you know you can import only assets that you actually need, right?
What do you mean? I need my 2000 sound effects, 1000 3D models, 400 terrain textures, 500 animations. Luckily there is a solution for that, and it's called Git Large File Storage. You can simply install the extension and add it to your project. However, GitHub only offers you 1 GB for free every month. You have to pay if you want extra storage. And since I'm just a poor CS student, I can't afford those expenses. So we did what every sane person would do, and that is using a Raspberry Pi 4 to host our own Git Large File Storage. And it works like a charm.
The AI is getting better, but something is still missing. The way the enemies move just feels a bit unnatural, kinda like how a robot would move. Introducing steering behaviors, aka how to spend 1 month on the details that are way outside the scope of our game. This way we can make the enemy AI go from bad to... well, still bad, but look at those cool moves though. We're using something a bit more advanced called context steering behaviors. Instead of returning a vector 3 with a steering force, they will return an array of directions and then the AI will pick the one with the highest interest value. I couldn't really find much info about it besides this one paper, so I have no idea if what I'm doing makes any sense at all. The first behavior I made was the path following one, which returns the desired direction using Unity's nav mesh agent. Then we have behaviors like arrival and obstacle avoidance, which are supposed to make the enemy movements feel more natural. I also implemented a wonder behavior for the wonder state if the enemy hasn't noticed you yet. It's alright, but still needs some work. We combine the movements from each behavior using some math, and that's how we obtain natural looking movement. Just make sure you don't turn on every behavior at once, cause it will be very unstable. Big news! Unity 2022.2 is out! Ah, don't you love it when you update to a new Unity version and you suddenly get spammed with 1000 errors per second because Unity decided to completely rework one of their systems only to fuck you up? We've been waiting for rendering layers for God knows how long, and now that they're finally here, Unity decals are no longer useless. Before this update, if you wanted to use decals, they would simply overlay everything, including your own character. What were they thinking? It's not like Unity ever releases unfinished systems, right?
The new graphics are amazing, but performance doesn't seem to be so great. I don't even have that many polygons, so what could it be? Turns out it's this giant ass terrain I accidentally made when I started working on this exterior level. Look at the size of that thing. It's freaking huge.
That's what she said.
Shut up. The good part is that we can use this Unity terrain tool to split the terrain in smaller tiles and remove the unused ones. Okay, looks like it worked. This should greatly improve the... You know what else can make or break games when it comes to enemies? Ever thought why Left 4 Dead was so engaging and never felt repetitive? That's because it has an AI director which controls the number and the spawn location of zombies. Did I mention that supplies are also controlled by the AI director? So in our quest to make our game more engaging, we developed a similar system called Wave Director. It's obviously not as sophisticated as Left 4 Dead's AI director, but it's good enough for a hack and slash game, at least for now. It allows us to describe waves of enemies which will be spawned at the appropriate time. The wave director enables other scripts to access the current wave's remaining health percentage. Take a look at this gameplay. See how new enemies spawn before the previous wave has been completely defeated? I'd say our wave director is doing a pretty good job.
I think the game is coming together nicely so far, but it's still light years away from being complete. To be honest, making YouTube videos is taking way longer than I thought it would. Who said this whole YouTube thing would be a good idea? For the last 3 or so months we've been very busy with YouTube and university, but we want to go back to working on the game from now on. After all, it's the main reason why we started this channel. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe or AI will take over the world.
Almost working.